and welcome to another episode of Worlds Collide. I'm your host, Justin.
And I'm Mitch.
And today we are bringing you Cable.
The soldier of fortune from the future.
Yes. Very similar to the Terminator, time-traveling Terminator Protector?
Well, not Terminator, unless, are you talking about the first one or the second one? In the first one, it's Kyle Reese, who...
Right. I'm talking about the second one, the Protector.
Yes. Except Cable's human, and the Terminator is an android, but similar.
It's got some cybernetics in him.
Yeah.
Of sorts.
Yeah. But he's way more convoluted.
Way more. Well, why don't you dive us down that rabbit hole of just how convoluted he is?
All right. So while I was doing, I already knew a lot about Cable. I am a big fan of Cable, so there's a lot of things I already knew about him. But because I already know so much about him, I knew that I needed to do some research on him to get certain things right. Because even me, I didn't really fully understand the sequence of events. Didn't quite understand how things worked, and even now, I'm going to try and make this as easy to follow as possible.
Well, as we've said before in previous episodes,
comics are weird.
Not only that, time travel tends to fuck things up.
Yes, they do. Time travel is a story plot that's been done to death. Rarely is it done right.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, it's not just him time traveling. There's it's like a menage a trois of time travelers between Strife, Bishop, and him, all playing cat and mouse.
There's so much time traveling in the X-Men, like the X-Men story. There's so much time traveling. It's ridiculous.
And then
because you have Cable, you have Bishop, you have Strife, you have Apocalypse, you have Rachel Summers, you have there's so much time traveling between.
There's more. There's more and more and more.
Yeah.
Now, where did it all begin for Cable? It
was
1988.
Yeah, let's back it up. Let's back it up some more.
Kinda?
Yeah, I'm going to go through his publication history, and to do that, I need to back it up to a little bit more than his first
Phoenix, Jean.
Exactly.
We need to take it way back and tell you why they even brought him in, why he's a relevant character. So there's a whole big storyline that actually took place to bring him into creation.
Yes. And there's also a story in real life about his creation as well.
What?
Yeah. So,
okay. So do tell.
So I'm gonna go through all that to make because it all brings it all together.
Yeah. So
if you've seen our episode of on Jean Grey and the Phoenix, a lot of this is going to be a repeat. So, and also because we talked about this in an episode of Jean Grey and Phoenix, I'm just gonna do the cliff notes of this. But so. Way back in the early 60s when the X-Men were first created, Jean Grey was the weakest member of the X-Men. She was always the damsel in distress, and she was never really she was never really a relevant character.
She was always the plus one.
That's right. And then Chris Claremont, when he took over writing for the X-Men, he was the one who made Jean Grey relevant. He's the one who, instead of making her the weakest character, made her the strongest character. As a matter of fact, he made her the strongest character in all of Marvel.
Yeah, damn near close.
Yeah. And his whole idea was, his end game was always to have Jean Grey rise to power and then die in glorious fashion. He always planned for her to die.
Yeah. Let her rise, build her up, let her be the hero, let her be the big one, and then let it all fall down.
That's right.
Let it go out with the boom.
That's right. But because of the work Chris Claremont did, Jean Grey ended up getting a huge following. She ended up becoming really popular and had a huge fan base. So they couldn't really fully kill her off. So what they did was they first introduced a Madeline Pryor. Madeline Pryor is a clone of Jean Grey, although at the time you don't know that she's a clone of Jean Grey, just that she looked exactly like Jean Grey.
And you don't meet her until after Jean's out of the picture.
That's right.
And it was Mr. Sinister, if I'm not mistaken, who actually... He was created by Apocalypse and had a big vendetta against him upon learning about Jean Grey and Scott Summers' mutant powers, figured how strong they were, and decided, you know what, if these two ever created offspring, they would be the ultimate mutant.
It's actually beyond that, because so we're going to do an episode on Mr. Sinister because he's an interesting character all on his own. But Nathaniel Asax, Mr. Sinister. He was a geneticist from the 1800s.
Yes.
And so it's not just a matter of how powerful Jean Grey and Cyclops are. Because
they had the right genes.
That's right. Because
the perfect blend.
That's right. Because Cyclops, he's strong, but is by no means the most powerful.
No, but when you get the two of them together and you get that perfect match, that perfect concoction of mutant, DNAs,
it's going to create the most powerful mutant that has ever existed.
And so his whole goal was get them together, have them create a child, come in and steal the child for his own, use it against Apocalypse to get revenge.
That's right.
And so that was the whole point of this Madeline Pryor even being created. It was now I don't know who set them up.
Okay, so when she was created as a clone, and then she went off on her own. She ended up getting a job on a airport in Alaska. That was under the employ of Scott's biological parents.
Okay.
So when Scott went to Alaska to meet his biological family, that's when he met Madeline Pryor. And because she looked so much like Jean Grey, they ended up falling in love and doing a hanky-panky. Right,
and this is all when he's kind of in turmoil and despair upon losing Jean during the whole Dark Phoenix saga.
That's right.
Right, so even though he knows, like, this looks like Jean, this can't be right, he doesn't care.
Yeah.
They fall in love.
Yeah.
They get married.
I think so, yeah.
And have
Nathan Summers.
Yes.
So his real name is Nathan Christopher Charles Summers. So Nathan, I don't know why they chose the name Nathan. Nor Christopher, I think, is the name of Cyclops' father. His real name is Cyclops' biological father. Oh, it was Cyclops' biological grandparents that owned the.
I was gonna say his father didn't make sense because
his father's Corsair.
Well, and his parents were dicks. Like,
yeah. Well, no, his dad is the leader of the Starjammers, and his mom was killed by the Shi'ar.
Oh, I'm thinking about his adopted parents. So.
Yeah. So, no, his father is the leader of the Starjammers, and his biological grandparents are the ones who live up north in Alaska.
Okay.
So what was I going with?
So this brings us to Nathan.
Right. All right. So Christopher, I'm pretty sure is his biological father's real name. Charles, named after Charles Xavier. And Summers, because that's Scott Summers.
So there, boom, 1, 2, 3, 4. You got the names and you got their commemorations.
So here, okay. So I wasn't sure exactly how they portrayed the pregnancy. I actually wrote this down. I never read this. I wanted to know like how big of a story was this?
Yes.
So here's the sequence of events. Madeline was shown pregnant in X-Men Alpha Flight issue number 1 in December 1985. Okay. The next time you see Madeline as pregnant is in Uncanny X-Men number 200 in December 1985. So same month in a different issue. So first, X-Men Alpha Flight number 1, December 1985, she's shown pregnant. By Uncanny X-Men number 200, she's going into premature labor.
And so it took 200?
So within the same month.
Oh, man.
But so in 1 month, she was introduced as being pregnant and given birth.
That's insane.
So there's not a lot of time given to develop a story on this.
No, it was very done.
And then by the next issue, in Uncanny X-Men issue number 201 in January of 1986 is when you first see Nathan Summers as an infant, as a baby. So she was pregnant in December. January, we have baby Nathan.
So they fast tracked the hell out of that.
Yes, they did.
Yes, they did. For speed.
Yeah.
Yeah. What?
So now here comes the real world elements into the story. At this, after all this, let's see here. This brings us Cable of Mutants 1990.
By the way, we'll have our episode of Cyclops up on YouTube as of tomorrow, so come check that out. And if you want to jump back to season 1, we have our Jean Grey Phoenix episode there, so you can kind of get filled in on the prior events of Cable.
So the stories of the X-Men continued unimpeded. So Cyclops Jean Grey ends up coming back to life. They find out that it wasn't really Jean Grey possessed by the Phoenix. She was actually encased in some kind of life-preserving chamber underneath the ocean. And then the Avengers found her, and it turns out she's alive. Scott leaves Madeline Pryor and Nathan to go back to being with Jean. And then when Scott comes back to his senses and realizes, holy fuck, I've got a wife and child I just abandoned. He ends up going back, but when he goes back, he finds out that Madeline and Nathan are gone. They vanished.
Fuck Scott.
Yeah.
Fuck that, bud.
Yeah. So now, fast forward a little bit. Go into 1990. There's a new series called New Mutants going on. The New Mutants is, once again, Chris Claremont trying to bring in a new generation of mutants, a new generation of X-Men, trying to bring back, trying to usher in a new next generation. Yeah. That's right. And this was all being led by Xavier and whatnot, but the production, the owners, the directors, or whatever, they wanted to switch it and come up with a new leader of the New Mutants. So they got. I forgot. Didn't write down artists' names, but this guy here is very well known in the late '80s, early '90s for his artwork and whatnot. He worked a lot with Jim Lee and the Wildcats, and he worked a lot with Tom McFarlane and Image. Anyways, gets him to come up with an idea for a new leader of the New Mutants. He wanted somebody who was rougher, grittier, and wanted him to have a cybernetic eye. So they drew up Cable with no real backstory whatsoever. It's just they just had this older, tougher, meaner soldier, a mysterious soldier with no background with a cybernetic eye just show up, named Cable, and he ended up taking over as leader of the New Mutants. And they had a couple of stories where you see him as the leader of the New Mutants.
But they had not really drawn any backstory for him yet. They
not
just
really.
Threw him into the mix and left you wondering, who the hell is this guy?
That's right. So while this was happening, while all this happened, it was decided that Cable is going to be Nathan Summers come back from the future. So they had to set up different stories to lead up to that idea. But all of this wasn't revealed until like much later. Yeah. So, but eventually, that's what the story. That's the story that they had come up with, is to have Cable be Nathan Summers from the future.
So Madeline Pryor and Scott Summers' child.
That's right. So then you go into the X Factor story with and when Cable first showed up, it was mostly against Strife.
Yeah, so he was another time traveler jumping through who he was chasing.
That's right, and this might have something to do with my being a fan of Cable. But I remember as a child, a toy my parents got me, they got me a toy of Strife. And he was one of my favorite toys to play with. So, nice. Yeah. So when I found out more about him and whatnot, that's when I became a fan of the character, both characters, Cable and Strife.
Now, I'm not really sure who Strife is.
Strife is Cable. Strife is a clone of Cable. We'll get to the explanation of that in a moment.
Nice.
But Strife is a clone of Cable. He is Cable without the techno-organic virus.
Oh, so even stronger.
Yes. That'll all make sense in a moment. Okay, so
Strife. Now, to bring us to X Factor, they retconned all this and basically redid his origin.
No, so in X Factor is the whole Apocalypse story with Archangel and all that. Apocalypse was the one who kidnapped Nathan and ended up infecting Nathan Summers with the techno-organic virus.
And he did this as a baby, did he not?
Yes, as a baby.
So he did this as a baby, figuring, I need to find a worthy candidate of the techno-organic virus, and if he survives the virus, he's worthy of it.
Well, he's worthy of being my host. So Apocalypse, his power is so vast that he burns out the bodies that he's possessing. So he's always looking for a new body to possess. And he knew that Nathan Summers, this being that Mr. Sinister engineered, Mr. Sinister engineered the events that led to the birth of Nathan Summers for the sole purpose of killing Apocalypse. Apocalypse found out about this, thought, hey, that's a pretty good idea. I'm going to use this body not as my destruction, but as my new permanent host. A host that can actually hold my essence, my power for longer periods of time.
Yeah.
So he ends up... So in Apocalypse is all about survival of the fittest. So he infected Nathan with this techno-organic virus with the idea that if Nathan was strong enough to survive the techno-organic virus, then he is indeed a suitable host for Apocalypse.
Yeah.
It's kind of fucked up.
Really fucked up. Now, he survived the virus, but he didn't shake it.
No, he didn't really survive the virus. So what happened was when the X Factor, when Cyclops and all them went to go fight Apocalypse, a Madame Ascani showed up. Mother Ascani showed up from the future saying she'll take Nathan 2,000 years into the future where they're going to have a cure for the virus. It turns out Mother Ascani is actually Rachel Summers. At time displaced Rachel Summers. Rachel Summers is the daughter of Cyclops and Jean Grey from the Age of Apocalypse storyline. Not Age of Apocalypse, from the Days of Future Past storyline, which is Forge's future. So now we're starting getting into like the really complicated, weird time travel shit.
Days of Future Past come before Dark Phoenix?
Yes. Days of Future Past came after Dark Phoenix, maybe? No, I think it came before. I don't know.
But Days of Future Past is essentially a retcon storyline.
Sort of.
Where it's like, this would be the future.
Yes. The Days of Future Past storyline is a story where it's a future that was taken over by Sentinels. It's a post-apocalyptic world that is taken over by Sentinels. Everybody is put into internment camps, mutants and humans alike. All being orchestrated by the Sentinels. That's the Days of Future Past future. And Rachel Summers is from that future. She's technically Nathan Summers from this alternate timeline. She is an alternate version of Nathan Summers in a way.
So in this other timeline, she comes to save him.
That's right. She comes back in time, grabs Nathan, and brings him 2,000 years into the future to save him from the techno-organic virus.
And when she comes to save him, you can see clearly she has the virus.
Sort of, yeah.
Right? Like, she's fragmented, cybernetic pieces, and so it's clear to be like, well, you look like you got it. Yeah, go save him. So they just give him away. That's
right. So, and then they fight Apocalypse, they defeat Apocalypse, blah, blah, blah. We're not really doing that story.
Nope. So moving on.
Yes. So let me go to my fact sheet here. 1 second.
That was it, though. The X-Men just handed over the baby, said, here, you deal with them. We trust you, we believe you.
Featured by Sister Scotty, memory of the clan of warriors dedicated to oppose Apocalypse. So, so she is part of a group of warriors that's dedicated to defeat Apocalypse.
There you go.
1992 stars. So this happened in 1991. X Factor in 1991. Okay. So once again, just going through the story, the timeline. 1986 is when Baby Nathan is introduced. 1990 is when adult Cable shows up to lead the New Mutants. In 1991 is the whole story of Apocalypse infecting Baby Nathan and Nathan going to the future to save him. 1992, Cable stars in a 2-issue miniseries called Cable, Blood and Metal. And in this issue of Cable, in this 2-part issue of Cable, Blood and Metal, they are exploring ongoing battle. They explore the ongoing battle between Cable and Strife. This is when you find out more about how Strife is actually the clone of Cable.
Do we know who he is cloned by? Was it Apocalypse?
Not yet. Not yet. We're going to find that out soon, though.
Right.
So, well, sort of. I think we find that out in the next miniseries. So after this, there was another series. Cable got his own series.
Started in 1993. It's his own standalone line. He's been around now for about 5 years.
That's right. So 1983, he got his own series. And that series goes until 2002, until Cable issue number 107 in 2002.
Holy, so he gets almost a, 10-year stint?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But issue number 6, December 1993, was confirmed that... So, once again, when they go back through the story, through the timeline, 1986, Baby Nathan is born.
Yeah.
1990, adult Cable shows up.
Yep.
1991, Apocalypse infects Nathan, baby Nathan with the techno-organic virus, gets put into the future.
Yep.
1992, Cable gets his own 2-part miniseries. 1993 gets his own solo series. And by Cable issue number 6 is when it's finally confirmed that Cable is indeed the son of Cyclops and Madeline Pryor, the boy from the future. It wasn't until 1993, so 7 years later?
They're like, oh, by the way, it's your kid.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah. So,
and they had met him for years. Like, they had known who Cable was now. Like,
now they just found out who Cable
Cyclops.
was. Now they just found out who Cable was.
But they had been dealing with him.
That's
They've
right.
been interacting with him.
As well, yeah, they teamed up with him. Cable's helped them defeat Apocalypse.
Now, he knew the whole time.
Yes. Yes, he does.
So he just kept quiet.
Yeah. Yeah. So here is what happened in the future. So in the future, Rachel ended up raising Nathan.
Yeah.
But eventually, she was going to die. So she needed somebody to take over for her to raise Nathan. So she psychically brought in the mind of Cyclops and Jean Grey to 2,000 years into the future and put them in the body of 2 other people. And they ended up raising Nathan as their own for 12 years. So for 12 years, their mind existed 2,000 years into the future, raising Nathan without them even realizing, kind of thing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
What? What? And it was like the same one. Like, it wasn't like a copy of their...
No.
It was them.
Yeah, but they weren't going as Cyclops or Jean Grey. They weren't going Cyclops or Jean or anything like that, or Scott. So I think Nathan, he might not have known that they were his parents because Scott was going by the name Slim, and Jean Grey was going by the name Red.
That's why Scott has the nickname Slim.
Oh, no. He got the nickname Slim right from like issue 1962, 63.
But they use, it's a commonly used
nickname
for him.
It's a nickname.
In all the movies and shows,
Yeah.
So that he's a sneaky bugger.
Yeah. So Cable goes back. So when Rachel first brought Nathan into the future, though, she didn't actually have a cure for the techno-organic virus.
She was lying.
Yes. So she felt like she could cure it, but they weren't sure, so they made a clone of Cable in case they failed. So in this future, this 2,000 years into the future is a post-apocalyptic future where Apocalypse rules. So when Rachel went back to the future in 2,000 years into the future, into this world that's ruled by Apocalypse, Apocalypse found out about this, found out that she has the techno-organic virus infected Cable, and sent his horsemen, his acolytes, to go and steal the baby for himself.
Go apprehend the child and return it.
That's right. The dumbasses didn't kidnap Cable. They kidnapped the clone.
They got Strife.
That's right. So so Apocalypse raised Strife as his own, while Cable was being raised by Rachel and by Scott and Jean on their own. So that's why Cable is such a good guy and Strife is such a bad guy. Right. Strife was raised on Apocalypse's ideology of only the strong shall survive. Now, on top of that, Strife is Cable without a techno-organic virus. When Apocalypse found out that he got the wrong baby, that this baby was never tested by the techno-organic virus, so he doesn't know if Strife is a suitable host for Apocalypse's power, he abandoned Strife. Yeah. Even though Strife is way more powerful than Cable, because he was never tested by the techno-organic virus, he was not suitable for Apocalypse.
He just doesn't want to risk it.
That's right. Now, to put this in perspective, Strife is Cable without the techno-organic virus. This techno-organic virus is exactly what it sounds like. It's a virus that's part biological, part mechanical, and what it does is converting Cable's cells into robotic cells. He's slowly being turned into...
nanites, essentially.
Yeah. He's slowly being turned into a robot by nanites. Now, any other human being or mutant or whatever, this would have been a very fast process.
It would just wake up.
That's right. But Cable being, turns out, the most powerful telepath in existence and telekinetic in existence, he is able to use his powers to keep the techno-organic virus at bay. Now, when I say that, I mean more powerful than Xavier, more powerful than Emma Frost, more powerful than anybody from the Shi'ar, from across the universe.
But we never get to see him use it.
Well, yes, we do.
We do.
Yes, we do. In many ways, too.
They've never shown it in...
Never shown it in the cartoons. Never showed it in the movie.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, yes, we are talking about the same Cable that you saw in Deadpool
2.
And played by Josh Brolin. He did an amazing job as Cable.
Yeah.
But how he's portrayed in the movie and how he's portrayed in the 90s cartoon, he's very downplayed. Cable has the ability to use telekinesis at a subatomic level. He can disassemble structures at the atomic level and put them back together again. He has the telepathic ability to be able to take control of every human being on Earth at the same time. He is insanely powerful.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Insanely. Another version of Nathan Summers, of Cable, his name is Nate Gray. He's from the Age of Apocalypse world. And he's even more powerful than Strife and Cable combined. He's he literally is mutant Jesus. Ken, if you Google Nate Gray, you'll see a picture of him, and he is literally drawn like Jesus. There's no denying it. He looks like
got
Jesus.
The long hair.
Yeah. Watch.
Looks like he's had some remodeling done.
Yeah, but there's a more recent one where he's got long hair. There he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, the picture right below it there with the open robe and everything.
That's Nate Gray. He's just like, man, you woke me up from a great sleep.
He's like the Big Lebowski, but with mutant powers.
Yeah. Yeah, I see it. I see it now. You have the potential to change the world, but I'm not done napping.
He is like, yeah. So Cable. So that's Strife, because Cable is always using his powers to keep the techno-organic virus at bay. He still has vast power of telekinesis and telepathy, but he has to supplement that with technology from 2,000 years in the future. So that's happened in 1991. So 3991, pretty much way in the
Year
future.
4,000.
Yeah, exactly. The 40th century technology.
Mm-hmm.
Use that to supplement his mutant powers to make him really, really fucking powerful. To be able to keep up with characters like Strife, who has his powers unchecked, who can almost rewrite reality, who can rearrange matter. Here's how powerful Cable is. There is at one point way into the future. We're going to skip ahead because at this point here, I wrote a lot of stuff about Cable, but eventually my brain started melting reading about all this stuff. So
back and forth, the loopholes of time, chasing Strife and Strife chasing him.
That's right. So I'm just, like I said before we started the show, I'm just going to go off the cuff on a few stories.
That's okay. Give her.
There is a story where Cable finally decides he's had enough and actually forces out the techno-organic virus out of his body. Now, to do that, he had to rewrite his DNA. He had to telekinetically rewrite his DNA to take this techno-organic virus out of his body.
I'm a woman.
He can technically do that if he wanted to.
Was it Bruce?
That's how powerful he is.
That's funny.
Yeah. Now, okay. Are you ready for this to get even more weird and complicated? I'm talking
ready.
Futurama, Fry's own grandfather kind of weird.
All right.
So, in a story, we'll get to what comic series. I'm actually skipping ahead quite a bit because there's actually an interesting set of stories. So, Actually, I'll just say, in Cable and Deadpool, Cable and Deadpool end up getting their own comic series.
Well, it was when he started losing some of the drive, was it not? They decided to start pairing characters together to give them an increased sale again.
That's right. That's right.
So they pinned him and Deadpool together, wisecracking, smartass, and deadly, straight to the point, killer.
Yeah, and I actually had to go research that because I never read the first issues of it, so I don't know how that pairing came to be. It's such a weird pairing.
Definitely a weird pairing, but apparently it was a huge hit among fans. They loved it. They ate it up, and they wanted more.
Yeah. I actually wrote down their first few stories, notable stories. We'll go over some of those notable stories.
Awesome.
But one of those notable stories is Cable went back and he decided that the only way to truly defeat Apocalypse is to go back in time 7,000 years into the past, back when Apocalypse first got his powers, kill him then before he has a chance to become the immortal Apocalypse that he is now.
Yeah, that's smart.
When he goes back in time to fight Apocalypse Cable succeeds in shooting Apocalypse. Apocalypse's blood starts spilling everywhere, but that blood ended up getting infected by the techno-organic virus that's inside Cable, infecting Apocalypse, allowing Apocalypse to merge with the celestial technology that made Apocalypse the way he is now. And also giving Apocalypse the techno-organic virus that he uses to infect Nathan way into the future.
So, in a future story, we learn that Cable was the creation of Apocalypse in the original.
Yes. Yeah. So let me summarize all this. Apocalypse infects Nathan with the techno-organic virus. Nathan grows up to be Cable. Cable goes back in the past to kill Apocalypse, winds up infecting Apocalypse with the same techno-organic virus that Apocalypse infected him with originally, that gave Apocalypse the ability to fuse with the celestial technology that made Apocalypse the all-powerful demigod that he is.
Now, in all fairness, Nathan would have had the powers, regardless of Apocalypse's meddling and interference of giving him the virus. He would have still had his own powers to time travel.
Yes.
So,
who's to say that Nathan would even exist if it wasn't for Apocalypse? There was no Apocalypse. There would have been no Mr. Sinister. Without no Mr. Sinister orchestrating events to bring to the birth of Cable.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a vicious circle of egg or chicken and how none of you belong here.
No. Like I said, this is a Futurama Fry is his own grandfather situation. It is a paradox. It is a definition of a paradox. This story does not exist. Does not make any sense whatsoever.
No, not in the realm of possibility.
No.
Or plausibility.
No. The only way this works is by using the idea that there's no such thing as time traveling. Every time they're actually time traveling, they're going into alternate realities. So
a different stat roll of this universe.
That's right. So
everything's the same. There's just he's a little sillier. He tripped.
Well, so Cable comes from the future where Apocalypse engineers the techno-organic virus and infects Cable. Cable traveled back in time, but what he did was actually went into an alternate future where he infects Apocalypse with techno-organic virus that allows him to fuse with the celestial technology. Who's to say that in the main continuity, Apocalypse didn't need that virus to fuse with the celestial? It breaks the brain.
Needless to say, it's confusing as shit. Comics are weird.
Yes, very much so. All right. So now, there's another story in the 1990s called Age of Apocalypse. We might do a separate story on Age of Apocalypse because it is a pretty big story. But, yes. Yes.
Yep.
Age of Apocalypse.
Age of Apocalypse is a story where, what if Professor Xavier never existed? What if Professor Xavier got killed before he had a chance to even start the X-Men?
Whoa.
Yeah. So, in this alternate future, there was no X-Men to stop Apocalypse, from taking over North America. Apocalypse rules North America in this Age of Apocalypse storyline. In this storyline, Magneto is the leader of the X-Men. Cyclops is a bad guy. Cyclops and Wolverine had a fight, and Cyclops ends up optic blasting one of Wolverine's arms right off.
So Wolverine is the metal arm.
That's right. That's right. This is the future. This is the alternate timeline where he has Hulk as his Horseman of War.
God.
Yeah. But yeah, in this future, because there was no X-Men, Cyclops and Jean Grey never did the nasty. They never got together, never met. But in this alternate timeline, Mr. Sinister still has a plan to take out Apocalypse, and he still believes that the way to do that is to create the ultimate mutant, which is the combination of the DNA of Jean Grey and Scott Summers. Even though they've never met together, they never got it hooked up, never had a relationship, Mr. Sinister still believes in this alternate future, in this alternate timeline, that the way to defeat Apocalypse is to have the child of Scott Summers and Jean Grey. So through the use of his lackeys, one of those lackeys being an evil version of Beast, Dark Beast, he ends up getting a hold of the DNA of Scott Summers and Jean Grey, and using genetic splicing creates Nate Grey. Named after Mr. Sinister's real name, Nathaniel. So Nathaniel Grey, named after Jean Grey.
Yes.
And so this is another version of Cable that is not infected by the techno-organic virus. But this is different than Stripe because his powers are actually beyond anything that Stripe ever put out. This version, Nate Grey, he ended up becoming so popular that, you know how Harley Quinn was so popular from the cartoons that they brought her into the main continuity?
Yes.
Nate Grey was so popular from the Age of Apocalypse storyline that they brought him into the main continuity.
Really?
Yeah, so Nate Grey they ended up bringing him into the main continuity of Marvel.
Alongside having Cable still there?
Yes.
Wow, so they got way more confusing.
Yeah.
So they got Cable, Strife, and now Nate Grey.
Yeah, and Nate Grey goes by the name of X-Man.
X-Man.
Yes. And X-Man is the one that is known as the most powerful telepath in existence.
Right, because if he surpasses the other two, it only makes sense.
That's right, yeah. His powers, and and that Jesus, that's X-Man. That's Nate Grey.
Okay.
All right. So, and Nate Grey, his power is so vast that he's designed to burn out. He has a limited shelf life. He's going to die. Pretty much that story where you see him looking like Jesus, that was pretty much his last act before he dies, kind of thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Just like Jesus.
Yeah.
So 3 issues later,
yes,
he's back.
Yeah. So Deadpool, how him and Deadpool ended up teaming up.
Yes, the duo.
Yeah. So Deadpool was hired by the One World Church to steal a virus that allowed them to turn everybody in the world blue. I don't get it, but okay. Cable, at the beginning of this story, Cable has now mastered this. I think this is the Cable who ends up separating himself from the techno-organic virus. He mastered the techno-organic virus. He is pretty much at strike level powers at the beginning of Cable, when Cable and Deadpool first meet up.
Okay.
So with this newfound power, this new freedom to use his power at its full potential, he is trying to figure out how best to use his powers to change the world for the better.
Right.
So he uses telekinetic powers to restore his spaceship. Yeah, by the way, Cable has a spaceship. That's the spaceship's name is...
What the fuck's he need a spaceship for?
The spaceship is...
Why not?
Yeah, it's kind of like a home base. It is called Grey Malkin.
Grey Malkin.
Yes. So he ends up using his telekinetic powers to fix Grey Malkin. Grey Malkin got destroyed in a fight against Strife and whatever.
Okay.
Both Cable and Deadpool end up back at the church, at the One World Church, And events happened where that led both of them at that church, and they both end up getting infected by the virus.
Deadpool gets the virus too?
Yes. Yeah. So to survive this, I read this 3 times to try and understand it. I still don't quite understand it, but I'll read to you guys what I read. All right? So apparently, when they got infected, the way to fix this is that Cable absorbed Deadpool, then threw him up. This combined their DNA. Okay? With that, Cable was able to take control of the virus and turn everybody in the world pink. And then a few days later, Cable figured out a cure and then brought everybody back to normal pigmentation.
You're all pink, way better than blue. Fucking turned us pink. But I fixed it.
He absorbed Deadpool and then threw him up.
With the level of his abilities, and for him to be able to fight the virus on a molecular level, absorbing Deadpool doesn't seem that hard.
Yeah.
It's more so like...
Yeah.
Getting him back up. That's the hard part.
Basically 3D printing a Deadpool.
Well, no. He brings him in, shakes it up, and then he's got to get it out.
Well, okay, so because their DNA got mixed like this, so now that Cable has fixed Grey Malkin has a teleportation tool that gives Cable the ability to teleport and to from place to place, also from timeline to timeline.
Yeah.
But because of their fusion of DNA, now both of them, Cable and Deadpool, have the ability to teleport. But where one teleports, the other one has to go with. So that's why they end up becoming a team. So that's the Cable and Deadpool ended up becoming a series because they pretty much were stuck together.
They can't go anywhere.
Exactly. So that was the first story. That was issues 1 through 6. And issues 7 through 10, Cable continues his idea of trying to change the world for the better.
Right.
What he does is that he ends up inviting all the world's top thinkers, scientists, and philosophers to live on Providence. Providence is the new name he gave Grey Malkin.
Okay.
He wanted all these great minds to live on Grey Malkin, on Providence, and so that they could all come up with a solution to make the world a better place.
Right.
Events happen where Cable decides he ends up... apparently he lost his flicking mind. He ends up threatening the world by throwing all of the world's missiles into the sun. So to take away war and all that, he threatened all the world leaders that he's going to take all of their missiles, because he has the power to do it, take all the missiles of Earth and throw it all into the sun.
Yeah, sure, why not?
This ended up causing Cyclops hiring Deadpool to go gather parts of a mini teleporter to help them go and stop Cable. Cyclops and the X-Men, as well as S.H.I.E.L.D. and I think Alpha Flight, teamed up to go after Cable, and Cable mopped the floor with all of them.
I can imagine.
And kicked the crap out of all of them.
Near reality bending abilities is like...
Yeah. It took Silver Surfer to come down and face Cable and fight Cable head to head. Silver Surfer was able to defeat Cable. And when he defeated Cable, Cable ended up telling Deadpool that his plan was, he was willing to die for this. He was willing to sacrifice his life if it meant to have the entire world band together to fight against Cable, to stop him from throwing those missiles into the sun.
It was a Dr. Manhattan scheme.
Yes. Yeah. His plan was to get the world to come together.
I just need the world to unify. Whether it's against me or against someone else, I don't care.
That's right. But obviously, great power comes great corruption. So Nathan, that's what Cable is realizing. He's got all this power to do whatever he wants. He's getting a little drunk on the power. So he got Cable to use the mini teleporter that he ended up gathering to lobotomize Cable so that he doesn't have that unlimited power.
Who, Nate did?
Yeah. So Cable got Deadpool to use the teleporter to lobotomize Cable so he doesn't have that unlimited power anymore.
Wow.
Yeah. So he nerfed himself.
Why?
because he was getting.
I'm getting out of control.
Yeah.
What a
Pretty much.
responsible guy.
Yeah. Funny enough, Gambit did the exact same thing. We'll do that. We'll go do an episode on Gambit, but Gambit does the exact same thing.
I'm getting too strong.
Yeah. He got a lobotomy to nerf himself.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a thing in the X-Men apparently.
If I just turn off my ticker just a little. No, I don't hit as hard now.
Yeah, pretty much. And then so many stories continued. The Cable and Deadpool continued all the way up until issue 50.
Okay, wow, they got a long run.
Yeah.
Because what is it?
They went through Civil War and...
When are comics typically released? Is it a weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly thing?
Mostly monthly. There are more. Some of them are bi-weeklies, like Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, because he's so popular. So before, in the 90s, Spider-Man had Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man, Web of Spider-Man. So he had 4 different series. Each one of those were monthly, but that's 4 series, so it's 1 series a week. So even though Spider-Man was, each one of these were monthly.
There's 4 different stories to read.
That's right. We were getting a weekly dose of Spider-Man stories. So Marvel ended up amalgamating all of this, made just Amazing Spider-Man. That's it. No other story, just Amazing Spider-Man, and made it bi-weekly. But most stories are just monthly. I
would find that a lot better, though, because then I'm not getting so many confusing storylines.
Yeah.
So which Spider-Man did what when?
Yeah.
And is this what he did there?
Yeah.
No.
If this happened to him here, how come that's not affecting him in this story?
Yeah, there's just going to cause too much.
I ran into those questions because that was my heyday of being a Spider-Man fan. So those thoughts was definitely things that I dealt with.
Yeah, I'm glad they cleaned that up a lot.
Yeah. There's also Sensational Spider-Man and the Ultimate Spider-Man. You have Superior Spider-Man.
Well, fuck, running 50 issues, even if it's monthly, that's probably 4, almost 5 years.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Like I said, it went through Civil War, and so when that finished, then starts the Messiah Complex.
What happens in Messiah Complex? Remind me.
Okay, so we're going to do, once again, reference in another episode that we did. We're going to go back to House of M. So in House of M, you have Scarlet Witch, who did the No More Mutants, leaving us with 198 mutants. With nobody ever being able to give birth to another mutant until a baby in Alaska was born, Hope, the first mutant to be born. So what happened was word got out that a mutant's been born. There's 3 different groups that are going after this mutant. You have the Mr. Sinister's Marauders going to Alaska to be the first ones to capture this new mutant. You have the...
Was it Hellfire Club?
Not Hellfire Club. It was the... I forgot what the name was. It's the Brotherhood... not the Brotherhood of Mutants, but it's the humans that are anti-mutants. The Purifiers.
Yes.
The Purifiers were going to Alaska to find this baby mutant as well. They're there to kill it. Marauders are there to steal it for Mr. Sinister to do experimentations on the baby. And the X-Men were going there to save the baby because it's the first mutant born since House of M.
So those are the 3 groups.
Yes. But Cable gets notified by Jean Grey of the birth of Hope. And he ends up... No, it wasn't Jean Grey. It was Xavier. Xavier told Cable ahead of time that about Hope, about this baby, this new mutant, this hope for mutant kind.
Well, Xavier actually told him telepathically through time.
That's right. And so Cable used...
to come back.
That's right.
And save this baby.
That's right. So Cable body slid... his teleportation isn't called teleporting. His teleportation is called body slide for some reason. But he body slid in, grabbed the baby, body slid out. So before everybody knew, all those 3 groups showed up in Alaska, and they started fighting each other just to find out the baby wasn't even there. Because Cable had slid in, grabbed the baby, slid back out.
Quick little suicide grab and go?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And he ends up taking his baby, this new hope for humanity. That's why he called her Hope. And he ends up raising as his own. So in Cable's future, Hope is going to be the leader of a group that's going to save the world. But in Bishop's future, Hope is the one responsible for the 6-second war. Now, the 6-second war is when Hope Summers snaps and within 6 seconds kills 4 million humans.
That's a lot.
Yes. And that spawned the surgence of the Sentinels that started Forge's post-apocalyptic world. So,
which led us to Days of Future Past.
Yes, sort of. The Days of Future Past is slightly different to Forge's future, but they're very similar in like.
And who's Forge?
Not Forge, Bishop.
Bish. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, I keep saying Forge, but I meant Bishop.
Yes.
Forge is another cool character, though.
Don't know
who. Forge is, I think he's from. He's either no, I think Forge is from Bishop's future. Pretty sure he's from Bishop's future.
We'll have to do an episode on Bishop because he's a cool guy.
Yeah, but Forge he's another guy in the X-Men who has been shown with cybernetic parts.
Does he have the M over his eye?
Yeah, and he's like sometimes it looks like he's black, sometimes he looks like he's Native American.
Yes. Yes, his pigment changes.
Yes. Anyways, Forge's mutant ability is that he can create anything that he needs to create. Like building-wise. He can build whatever he needs to suit whatever situation he needs it to do.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. It's not like he can rewrite reality, but he can build anything. That's mutant power. Yeah. Yeah.
Like out of nothing.
Well, he still needs materials and whatnot, but he's like his mutant power is like the ultimate MacGyver. Yeah. He is a mutant MacGyver.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure that would come in handy on more than one occasion.
Oh yeah.
So at this point, Cable's got Hope back in his time stream. The only problem is Bishop is also in that time stream.
That's right.
And they've lived out different paths.
Yes.
Where Bishop has his world end due to Hope.
Yes.
And Cable sees her as the savior.
That's right.
So essentially these two time-traveling bounty hunters are now chasing each other.
That's right.
Back and forth, doing handoffs with this kid.
That's right. So, yeah, well, not really handoffs. It's Cable constantly running from Bishop.
Keeping a step ahead.
Timeline, that's right.
To keep Hope alive.
That's right.
And trying to have her age, grow, prosper to the point where she's old enough to save the world.
That's right. Because Bishop is a problem on his own. He's not exactly the easiest mutant to deal with. Because Cable's powerful, probably powerful enough to take on Bishop. But the problem is that Bishop's mutant power makes it very difficult to take him on. Because Bishop's power is that he absorbs any kind of energy and refocuses it into either energy blasts or makes himself stronger. He's pretty much he absorbs any energy and repurposes it for other means.
He's a battery.
Yeah, yeah. It's problematic to fight Bishop.
Yes. Yeah, because he can take a beating.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and all he needs is one clear shot at Hope, and then he won.
Yeah.
So that's why Cable, instead of fighting Bishop, kept on running from Bishop. Because Bishop, it can be a difficult opponent.
Yes, and he does fight him from time to time, but Hope's in danger when he does. He's got to get the hell out of there. Yeah.
So that went on for a few stories. That's the Messiah complex. And then in this story, eventually Bishop gets defeated by Cable, I think it is, or Bishop lets off. Hope ends up becoming a member of the X-Men, and she ends up getting raised by Cyclops. Cable ends up dying.
Doesn't Bishop come back to the past to live in this timeline for a bit, too?
Yeah.
And joins the X-Men in this old day?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think Bishop ends up joining X-Force.
Yeah.
Yeah, X-Force. Yeah. Anyways, so then we go into the X-Men, Avengers versus X-Men story.
Ooh, that doesn't bring us there.
Yes. So in this story, Cable, it turns out, is not dead, gets told that their future is fucked because Hope never showed up to where she was supposed to show up.
Whoa.
And Cable's like, well, what happened to my daughter? Because, he raised her.
Yeah,
it's his daughter. What happened to my daughter? So he finds out that the Avengers are responsible for Hope's death. So Cable goes back in time to go face up against the Avengers with all the might of his mutant powers, with all the technology he has at his disposal from the 40th century, goes to the Avengers and mops the floor with them. Like, beats up Captain America, Falcon, he beats up Iron Man, he beats up
the Hulk.
Well, Red Hulk he ends up beating, like barely. The Red Hulk almost defeated him and whatnot, but this is all to the detriment of Cable, because Cable, he's so desperate to defeat the Avengers, to stop them from killing Hope, that he's foregone trying to stop the techno-organic virus from taking over his body. So you can see as the story progresses, he's becoming more and more robotic.
Yeah.
And at the end, he ends up dying. He succumbs to the techno-organic virus.
It's all for nothing.
And, well, sort of. Yeah, he did get the message across to Cable to Cyclops, that Cyclops needs to protect Hope. That Hope is going to be the savior of mutant kind. But the Avengers find out that Hope is going to be the next host to the Phoenix Force, and that starts the war of the X-Men versus the Avengers. The Avengers trying to stop the next vestige of the Phoenix Force, and the X-Men are trying to save the savior of mutant kind.
Yeah, let her have it.
Yeah, so that goes into the X-Men versus Avengers. We're going to do a whole entire episode on that, because that's quite the story.
Now, is that the culmination of Cable's storyline in our current continuum?
No, because it keeps going from there. That whole entire Jesus thing, that happened more recently. That happened in like the 2000...
But that's Nate Gray.
Yes.
Not Cable.
That's right. So another Cable shows up, a younger Cable shows up, a more recent story. This is the story where Cyclops is now dead. After X-Men vs. Avengers, Cyclops went all evil.
When he got the Phoenix.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And then he lost the Phoenix, and he became a criminal, and then he becoming we did an episode on Cyclops. So once again, doing a quick cliff notes of this, Cyclops ends up dying, and then you also had the younger X-Men, and they all ended up going back to their own timeline, which turns out was a different timeline altogether. But anyways,
time traveling.
Oh, there's so much time traveling.
It's getting weird. Long story short, Cable died trying to get the point across to the Avengers that Hope needs to live.
That's right.
So then the X-Men carry on trying to keep her alive in that future timeline, but Phoenix Force gets split a bunch of different ways. Cyclops kills Charles.
Yeah.
Moving on, la la la.
Yeah. So Cyclops.
Nate Gray is alive now?
Yeah. So Nate Gray is alive. The events that happened in that story where I showed you Jesus, it's called X-Men Disassembled. It has a lot to do with Legion shows up.
Oh God. Okay. So Charles' son.
That's right. Legion shows up.
David.
And Legion has been using its powers to take control of various people to cause certain events to happen. Like he ends up controlling multiple men, Jamie Madrox, to go around looking for Kitty Pryde for reasons, and start orchestrating different events. And you find out afterwards that you see Apocalypse captured, you see Kitty Pryde captured, and you see the new President of the United States captured. And it was all Jesus Nate Gray, X-Man that did all that.
Why'd you catch Kitty Pryde?
Because, how he saw it is that you have the new President of the United States representing humanity, the Kitty Pryde representing mutant kind, and then you have Apocalypse, who represents the idea of survival of the fittest.
Okay.
Representing the idea of survival of the fittest, and who deserves to live and who deserves to die, kind of thing.
Yeah. So why is he kidnapped the three of them?
I'd have to read the comics itself, because that motivation kind of eludes me.
Right.
But the reason I wanted to bring this up, because in this story, Legion ends up trying to defeat X-Man, he ends up putting X-Man back into the Age of Apocalypse story universe. But turns out that he actually was not in the Age of Apocalypse universe. Legion actually put X-Man into Legion's own mind. Yeah. And it made his mind look like the Age of Apocalypse. When Nathan realized where he was, there was a face-off between Legion and X-Man inside Legion's mind, with all of Legion's personalities. Now, Legion, if you guys ever watched the show, he's also an Omega-level mutant. He is like vastly powerful, second telepath and telekinetic, and he has over 1,000 different personalities, and each one of those personalities have a different power. So Legion has like almost unlimited powers, but it's just that they're all depicted by different aspects of his personalities, all the different personalities.
He's Jane from Doom Patrol.
Exactly. But inside his mind, that's all the different personalities, all the different powers against Nate Gray.
So he had everything.
That's right. Who do you think won that battle?
Nate Gray.
That's right. Because Legion said that, you're in my mind. You're fucked. And Nate Gray's like, no, you don't understand. I am the god of psychic. This is my mind. And he ended up taking over Legion's body with all the different personalities and all the different powers. So now, Nate Gray, being the universe's most powerful telepath, universe's most powerful telekinetic, has the body of Legion with the 1,000 different personalities, with 1,000 different powers. Reality warping, teleportation, matter manipulation, intangibility, super speed, super strength, size alteration. He has access to all of these powers.
Just you name it.
That's right.
You name it, I got it.
That's right. So, like, holy fuck, powerful. And the story ends up going where, like, he believes that he's a god, and it ends up Storm, who, like, you think yourself a god. I've been a god before you were even born. Being like the goddess of weather. Now, she is an Omega level power mutant as well, because she has the ability to control weather, not just of Earth. Any planet she's on, she can control the elements of that planet.
Really?
That's how powerful
I didn't
she is.
know that.
Yeah. So, but she's still no match for X-Man. But she was as powerful enough to at least distract him long enough for all the mutant psychics. So you have Psylocke, you have Rachel Summers, you have
Frost,
all of
Charles.
them. Not Charles, but all of them, all the other ones combine their powers and ends up separating Legion from X-Man. And that's how the story ends up concluding and whatnot.
Both you get back to your corners.
That's right. So, but after all that, though, you know how I said Cyclops died? Mm-hmm. So Cyclops got brought back to life by a time displaced Nathan Summers, Cable, who is younger and not infected by techno-organic virus. So it's not Nate Gray, it's Nathan Summers, Cable, but time displaced and without the techno-organic virus.
Yeah, he's got like blonde, long hair and like a brown trench coat. Like,
yeah.
Apparently fans didn't like this guy.
Yeah.
It was one of the things I heard, but he's one of the most recent versions of Cable that they just brought back in.
Yes. Yeah, because that leads into the House of X, I think it is. Is the story called? Sure. But yeah, it's a more very like as recent as last year kind of thing. Mm-hmm. That brings us to like last year.
Yeah. And then so obviously our big screen debut was, as you said, Josh Brolin.
Yeah.
We might see him again in Deadpool 3.
I hope so. Or maybe recast and redone completely by Disney because Disney owns it now.
Getting rid of Ryan Reynolds at this point would be a big mistake.
Well, yeah, it would be a big mistake.
Yeah, and Brolin did a fine job. Why replace him?
Yeah. Except Disney might want to go in a different direction.
Yeah. Well,
Kevin Feige might want to go in a different direction.
Yeah.
And I trust Kevin Feige. I don't trust Disney, but I trust Kevin Feige.
Fair. I know Deadpool's promising, so whatever happens, we shouldn't be too disappointed.
No.
And Cable, I feel like we'll see a lot more of him.
There's also comes to the problem that Josh Brolin played both Cable and Thanos.
Thanos is gone.
Yeah.
Right? And when Brolin played Thanos, it was a lot of makeup, CGI. And
that's right.
He was a purple-faced alien.
That's right.
I think he can do both.
That's right. But even in Deadpool 2, Deadpool calls Cable Thanos. Listen here. Yeah, he totally does. Listen here, Thanos!
I'd have to rewatch that one.
Yeah.
That's funny. There's a lot of stabs.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's Deadpool, right? He breaks the fourth wall.
Mm-hmm.
But that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about Cable. Cable is just an awesome character. I have to admit, I'm pretty sure my first exposure to Cable was from the 90s X-Men series, so my fandom comes from the 90s X-Men series. Yeah. But I did read a lot of a lot of Cable stories. I've always found him a very fascinating character. I like the idea. I like the origin. So much so that when I played Fallout 3, I came with the term, what would Cable do? I made my character based off of Cable. I even made him look like Cable. I leveled him up his skills just like Cable, so like very heavy on like heavy machinery and every time there was like a decision to be made, I would think, what would Cable do in this situation? So I played as Cable in my run on Fallout 3.
That's awesome.
My second run on Fallout 3, I ended up creating a female character and made her what would Domino do? And made her come all luck based.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Funny enough, Cable and Domino they were lovers at one point in comics.
Really? Well, we see them team up, obviously, in the Deadpool 2, and Domino will be one of the ones that we see reoccurring in future Deadpools.
Yeah, I hope so, because I really like Domino. I'm a big fan of Domino.
She's a very strong character. Like, it's a very odd power, but strong.
Yeah. And also, like, Cable and Domino were the two main leaders of X Factor. So when Cable first showed up in 1990, it was Domino and Cable that were the leaders of X Factor.
So, more to come.
Yep.
More to come. Now, next week, who we got up there, Kenny?
We don't have anyone listed, but there's a couple we could do.
Mm-hmm.
You could do Sabretooth.
Could do Sabretooth.
Who
do you got on DC side?
Or even, we could even switch it up. We could do Spawn. We could do Fables. We could finally do Why the Last Man. Or we could do Naruto or Dragon Ball.
There's a lot of options here.
There's a lot of options.
Well, why don't we give it a minute to think here in terms of what media is coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll post it later in the week, give you guys an update on who we decide on.
Mm-hmm. You know what we could do it on? We could do it on Watchmen.
Watchmen would be a good one. I finished the season. I don't know if there'll be a second.
I haven't watched it at all yet. I could binge watch it this week, though.
Binge watch it. It's good. Good show, good actors. There'll be a second season, I think.
Okay.
But, I don't know where they go from here because the whole Watchmen was a short story, was it not? Or is it a whole bunch of series?
No, it was one story. It was, it was like multiple comics.
Squid, though.
But
the
it was
Squid, the nuke, the war, band everyone together, Dr. Manhattan. Yeah.
That's right. It was, Why the Last Man is a longer story. Why the Last Man was 70-something issues. Watchmen was maybe 10 issues.
Yeah. That's what I thought. That Watchmen was a standalone. It was not a series of different Watchmen events.
No.
Yeah, we could do Watchmen.
Yeah.
Watchmen.
Yeah.
All right, so there you have it. No DC, no Marvel. We're a mix. Well,
technically DC.
Technically DC, but technically.
Yeah.
So, so thanks for tuning in, guys. This is episode 20 of season 2. Like we said, we'll have our Cyclops episode up on YouTube tomorrow, and you can check back to season 1 for our Phoenix episode. Also, we did House of M.
It's season 2 to be posted later.
Yeah, so we did do a House of M episode, so we can fill you in on that series of events because it did lead up to some things that we talked about today. So stay tuned for that to be up on YouTube in the next couple weeks to come, I guess. Other than that, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week.
Cheers.
Take care.